All right, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Robin, and I'm going to be leading about a 1-hour experience of Zen meditation, and we'll have a little discussion. So how the hour will go is we'll talk a little bit. I'll give you some instructions and an explanation of Zen. We'll meditate for about 20 minutes. I'll ring the bell. We'll talk a little bit about your experience. Then we'll have I'll do a reading, we'll have a little discussion about that, and we'll meditate again at the end. So an hour can go by quickly. So I wondered if anyone here has never meditated before. 2, awesome. Anybody never done Zen meditation before? The same 2, okay, and another one, okay, good. Who could explain what makes Zen meditation different than maybe other meditations? What makes it different? You might know, or you might know. Do you know? What we call it is a silent and stillness practice. Okay, so you may have come here or other places and you've maybe had guided meditations, or you've had meditations where the bell rings and you're meditating, and then you'll get reminders like, where's your mind? Follow your breath. I won't be doing that, okay? In traditional Zen practice, we don't. It's silent and still. So before I get started any further, I wanted to welcome the people online. So thank you for showing up. And if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat box. And I'll do my best to respond to them. So my background is I've been meditating for a long time, more than 20 years. And I've landed on Zen. I've left Zen a couple times and always end up coming back because for me, I like the tradition, I like some of the rituals, and I also love a silent stillness practice. So that's where I go. I also meditate here, because I think it's also important to be able to meditate with distractions and just see them as just sounds. So that's my background. What else did I want to say about that? Okay, so for Zen, here's the instructions I'm going to give you. So Zen is very much about posture and stillness. So you're going to want to choose a posture. You want to be sitting up straight, preferably having 2 feet on the floor if you're sitting in a chair. You want to be thinking that you're doing a practice. You're not just like hanging out watching a movie. You're actually doing something meaningful. So that's kind of why we have that alert posture. So that's how the sitting high art would be. Now your hands can be placed on your lap. Some people place their hands this way. It's called the cosmic mudra. And it's just a way of having some attention to something in addition to all of the thoughts in your head. So you can just remember, oh yeah, my thumbs aren't touching anymore. I lost my mind there for a minute. I was daydreaming, okay? So that's one thing. You can put your hands however you like. As far as the eyes go, I was explaining to George what we talk about in Zen is rather than having your eyes closed all the way, because that tends to lead to sleepiness or drowsiness, we have the eyes partially open. Open just very little, maybe just looking down in front of you. The reason for that is you're still in your experience, you're in the room, you're wherever you're meditating, but you're not able to like really look around and check everybody out and see what's happening and all of that. So that's the posture, the hands, the eyes. What else do I want to say about that? Okay, so what are you going to do, especially those of you who haven't meditated? What's most beneficial that most people find is useful is following the breath. And what I mean by following the breath is pretty much just that, noticing the sensation of breath in, breath out. And let that be your anchor. So breath in, breath out. Breath in, breath out. Thoughts will arise. You notice the thoughts arising, just release them. And you come back into breath in, breath out. I often encourage people at the beginning, if you would join me, just put your hands at the top of your chest. Take a couple of deep breaths. That's the feeling you're going to be feeling, and you can tune into that while you're meditating. Your chest is rising and falling. So you've got your posture, you know what to do with your eyes, you're going to do whatever you're going to do with your hands. Stillness is important. So let's say, I just happen to see someone scratching their nose. Let's say your nose is itchy while you're meditating. What would happen if you didn't scratch it? Interesting, right? Try it. Now, of course, if your back hurts and you have to adjust your posture, do that. Do it mindfully and do it quietly. But see what would happen if you had an itch and you didn't scratch it. So everybody scratch their itches right now, and then later we won't, okay? Why do you think stillness might be so important in practice? Anybody have a guess? Yes?
So you can see the arising and passing of phenomena.
The arising and passing of phenomenon, exactly. And also, if your body is still, what else might be still? Your mind, maybe. No guarantee, but it might be, okay? So stillness and silence. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'll ring the bell 3 times to start. I'll ring the bell 3 times at the end. Usually at the end of a meditation, we'll do a little hand bow. It's just part of Zen tradition. Feel free to join me. If you don't care to, that's fine too. Okay. All right, any questions before we get started? Now, for those of you who have never meditated, this might just be torture, and it might not be. You might be able to just follow your breath and you have a thought. 2 breaths of a thought. That happens to people who've been meditating for 20 years also. So it's not just a beginner's thing. Okay, so try not to get discouraged. Okay. So now I'd just like to invite whoever would like to share about your experience. And we do learn from each other's practice and each other's experiences, so go for it. Okay, how about my two new people? What was that like for you? And it's okay to say, I hated it, it was boring, I couldn't wait for it to be over. That's fine. What was it like?
Well, definitely different from what I'm used to.
Okay, so you're used to something else, like more talking and guidance type of thing?
Or I mean, just in general, I'm not a very quiet person.
You're not a quiet person, okay. Okay. So it was a little hard?
Or a sit still person, so definitely difficult.
Okay, it was challenging.
Well, I made it.
You did, you didn't run out the door,
Yeah.
so that's good.
Yeah, but it was nice. A lot of thoughts, so I guess I
Yeah.
have to keep coming back to breath.
Right, and that's typical, like I said, for newcomers especially, but even for people who've meditated a long time. Sometimes your mind's just gonna be busy. And really, all that we're doing is we're training our minds to be present right here and right now. So what's happening right now? You're breathing, you're hearing sounds, and you're feeling some bodily sensations. That's it. The thoughts are coming too, and we just notice them, and we just let them pass through, okay? Over and over and over and over, okay? There's this little thing on my screen I wanted to read. It says, the idea of Zen is to catch life as it flows. So that's what we're doing. We're catching life as it's flowing. There's nothing extraordinary or mysterious about Zen. So another thing we might call it would be present moment awareness. We're just aware of the present moment. So what about the gentleman in the back? You said that you had not done Zen meditation before. What was this like for you?
You know what? I think I have done Zen meditation.
Okay.
It just wasn't referred to that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very similar to the meditation that I started practicing.
Okay.
Overall meditation, as far as just in general meditation, it's done a whole lot for me.
Yeah.
I started meditating when I was in prison.
All right.
Today will be a month for me being formerly incarcerated. I learned a lot about myself through meditation.
Yeah, we definitely can learn a lot about ourselves in meditation, and welcome, I'm glad you're here. One of the things that we can learn, and this is a practice that some people like to do and some people don't like to do, is when you have a thought come up, you could label the thought, okay? So for example, you know, you're breathing and you're doing whatever, and then you notice like you're having a judging thought, like, oh, this is stupid. Oh, why are they being so noisy? And you can just label it judging, okay? And what you could learn from that is when we get done with meditation, remembering, oh, I had a lot of judging thoughts. Am I judging? Am I judgmental in other places in my life other than my meditation cushion? You bet. So that you can get some insight. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
For me, I was like nervous at first.
You're nervous, okay.
But at the same time, I was loving the quietness,
Yeah,
and I was just like, I was enjoying it.
yeah. Great. Did anybody have an itch that they were dying to scratch that they made themselves not do? And you lived through it. How was that for you? Either of you or both of you?
Cough, like
A cough, yeah, that can happen too, yeah.
My breathing made me like my throat dry.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I stopped breathing and made
Some
where I
saliva,
got, like,
yeah.
some saliva.
There you go. Good for you. Okay. You were laughing. Did you have an itch somewhere?
Yeah,
And what did you do about it? Nothing. And did it go away?
yeah.
Yeah, usually they will go away. Sometimes they don't. But I think it was Deb who said, you know, just the phenomena rising and falling, so something happened. So I have an itch. Okay. So do I have to do anything about it? I don't. We think we do, but we don't, you know. So, interesting. Okay, anybody else? Yeah, Art.
Yeah, I had a long day and I was on my feet all day at the high school and at the rescue mission. So I tried focusing on the pain and it went away temporarily, at least.
That's cool. And sometimes, like I said, sometimes that'll happen. Sometimes you focus on a pain or an itch and it'll go away, and sometimes it doesn't. And you just be there with it and see. You know, that's another thing. We're so attached to being comfortable. It's like, oh, I have an itch, I have to scratch it, I have to be comfortable. Oh, I want to move, you know, like, what would happen if we didn't? Just what would happen, right? So, good for you. Okay, anybody else? What about you, George? You're kind of new here, right? What was this experience like for you?
I moved.
You moved? Okay.
Yeah, I had a hard time staying still.
Yeah. Was it because you were fidgety or was there pain?
No pain.
Pain. Okay.
Just
Yeah.
fidgety.
And sometimes we will have pain, and sometimes you just have to move a little bit. You know, I have a chronic back pain thing, and I sometimes have to move a little bit because it's just too painful. We don't have to sit in pain. We don't get any extra credit for that, so good for you. All right. Was anybody oh, Deb, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I usually meditate with my eyes closed.
Do you?
And so this is now the second time I've tried. I did at the Zen Center. With
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And I noticed that I have a lot more thoughts. I'm just sitting there thinking.
No.
And so then halfway through today, I was like, I'm just gonna close my eyes.
Okay.
So I closed my eyes and I was able to like be with the breath and have less thinking. So
Great.
I don't know if it's just a matter of habit and it's something new for me, but
Yeah, that might be.
whatever. That's what I
Yeah.
observed.
Right, sometimes people give me feedback and they'll say they always meditate with their eyes closed and then they're the people who are nodding off and going to sleep. And I'm like, well, so you could try opening your eyes a little bit, you know, but you want to do what works for you. So your eyes were closed and you were able to stay awake, so that was great. Cool. Anybody else have any comments? Yeah.
I had a bug fly in my face,
Did you?
and it was little, but like it might still even be in my hair. I don't know.
Oh no.
And it was little.
Yeah.
And I really normally freak out about that type of thing.
Wow.
And I mean, I was freaking out.
You're a little freaking out, but quietly freaking out, yeah.
Yeah, because you said the thing about the itch at the beginning. I was like, well, this is kind of like an itch. I'll just
Yeah.
sit here.
I'll just be here with it. Good for you.
Thank you.
I think you might get extra credit for that. Totally sarcastic about that. Okay. Yeah, so we're just training our minds to be present, okay? And that's all any type of meditation is. Well, there's some guided meditations that take you on journeys and all that, but I mean your basic meditation is going to be here now, be present. What's happening right now? My breath. I may hear some sounds. I may feel the sensation of my hands on my lap. So those 3 points, or maybe just the breath, whatever works for you, but that's kind of where we're going with that. Okay, anybody else before we change gears a little bit? Okay, was anybody here last Monday when Mark led the group? A couple people. Does anybody remember what his homework assignment was? We give homework assignments sometimes. Nobody remembers. Okay. Well, here's what he asked. He read a little a passage from a book from a Zen teacher, and it was called Mindfulness and Intimacy. And he just suggested that as you go through the week, think about what is intimacy for you. So, does that sound familiar, Meredith?
Mhm.
Yeah. Did you think about it?
No.
No, that's okay. All right. Well, maybe think about it this weekend, because I don't think I have any other homework assignments. But sometimes it's good to to have a practice. And I lots of times forget, like I'll have an intention, but if I don't write it on a sticky note and put it a few places in my house, it's gone. So that's not too hard to do. Okay, so if you like this type of silence and stillness, you can get it here at Dharma Bum Temple, not just on Monday nights, but also weekday mornings from 8 for an hour and at noon for an hour. There's 2 25-minute sittings with a 5-minute break. So if you like this, that is available to you. Some people really love the reminders of where's your mind, follow your breath, and whatever works for you, do that, okay? Okay, so I want to just read a little bit from this book. It's called Inside the Grass Hut. And the author is Ben Connolly, and he spoke here one time. I don't know if anybody remembered him. Were you here, Meredith, when he was here? He was a Zen priest out at Minnesota Zen Meditation Center in Minneapolis, which happens to be the first where I started my Zen practice a long time ago. But he wasn't there when I was there. So he's got a very strong practice and some very practical things to say. So I'm just going to read a little bit from this and make a few comments, and if anyone else has any comments or questions, please feel free. So the title of this is called No Gaining Idea. And Ben says, I'm not a very good Zen teacher. I talk quite a bit about how beneficial meditation and compassionate action are. I talk about how they help those who practice them, how they alleviate suffering in those near them, how the reach of their benefit is unknowable. I talk about the hundreds of recent scientific studies demonstrating that meditation results in less anxiety, less of a sense of alienation, and increased well-being. I quote the Buddha, quote, "More than your mother, more than your father, more than all your family, a well-trained mind brings greater good," unquote. I teach that meditation can improve things. And then other Zen teachers that he mentions say, don't have any goal. Don't think, if I do this, I'll be a better person. I may be more centered. I may be more calm. In other words, don't be striving for something. Just meditate. Or as you'll hear in Zen, they'll say just sit. And they talk about meditation as sitting as meditation. So I've noticed through the years, especially with my Zen training, that was what we were taught. Just sit. Don't have any goals, just sit. And for a while I thought just sit meant just sit, don't follow the breath, don't do anything like that. And I discovered when I was talking to some other Zen students that we're all just sitting and daydreaming because we didn't have an anchor. So I really recommend, unless you're a very advanced practitioner, have an anchor, have your breath to follow. Okay, it's just too hard. Our minds are so active most of the time. Okay, so that's what they talk about. But what I discovered along the way, and especially when I ended up here at Dharma Bum Temple, I started a daily sitting practice. I had stopped it for a while, and I found that it did make a difference in my life. I did feel more present, calmer, less reactive. Have you ever noticed that when you're talking to someone, you kind of notice their attention wanders and they're like not hearing you anymore? And that happens, or you can be taking a walk. You're going for a walk in the park, and you're not even noticing that you're walking, you're just thinking. A lot of times we're just thinking and not being present with what we're doing. So some of the recommended little things that you can do to practice awareness is when you're driving, just drive. Don't turn on the radio. Just be present to the driving. Feel the steering wheel in your hands. Notice the colors of the lights. Just be fully present. Has anyone ever done a meal in silence? A few of you have. It's weird at first, right? It's just awkward, like what am I gonna do with my mind? Well, I can focus on what I'm doing. I'm eating, right? You could notice the food, what it looks like, what it smells like, the texture of it in your mouth, et cetera, et cetera. There's many opportunities or what we can do. One time when I was here, I suggested that people pick a mindfulness practice and do it. It could be brushing your teeth. So someone responded and said, yeah, I did it with brushing my teeth. Boy, that was boring. I'm like, well, okay. I mean, you're focusing on minutia maybe something that's not important, but you're present with your brushing of your teeth, so just something to do. And I think that as you get more and more present in your life, you are more and more present in your life. So my experience with meditation is meditate, okay? So what about some of you guys? Why do you meditate? What's in it for you? What have you noticed? Anybody? Yeah, Vicki.
So over time, like you said, I would just sit and I, think, well, I'm just sitting and for that moment, that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But over time, I noticed the reactionary things. I don't react quite as quick and fast, and it's kind of weird. I had no expectations for any kind of goal, like you said, but it's like over time you kind of go, oh, that's interesting. I have a different way of responding. So the practice for me, I wasn't sure what it was doing, but over time and dealing with different things, like I dealt with death quite a few times, and it was like a lot different than if I hadn't learned how to be in the moment. Mm-hmm. It was a lot gentler and kinder for what was going on, this sad thing. And it was very interesting, and I was kind of blown out by it, because it was like, these are like heavy things, and I was able to handle them a totally different way. So it's super beneficial for me.
Good for you. Thanks for sharing all that. Yeah, it sounds like you didn't have an intention or a goal, and it just kind of snuck up on you, and you noticed, wow, I'm dealing with life differently. Yeah, that's great. Okay. The two people who came in towards the end, are you regular meditators?
We've done a few times.
Sometimes, yeah. And why do you meditate? Why do you choose to meditate? Either of you or both of you?
I feel like for me it's like a relief from all the thoughts.
Okay. And what about you?
Yeah, I think you become a little more grounded and
Yeah.
a lot more calm during
Feel more calm.
throughout like your everyday life.
Has anyone ever gone into a meditation and at the end of it felt more agitated and more squirrely than before? Yeah, that can happen. It can definitely happen. So there's no guarantees with it, you know. I think in general, like Vicki mentioned, over time, you'll notice a difference in yourself. You'll be more calm and more present, but not in every single situation. But when you're meditating and you notice, oh, thinking, I'm feeling agitated, you're still meditating, okay? I had a friend of mine, a meditation partner, and she texted me and she said, oh, I can't count this meditation. I was all over the place. And I said, but you stayed there and you tried it and that was your meditation. So there's no good or bad meditation, there's just meditation. So I just want to encourage you, if you have a bunch of bad ones where you just feel like you're squirrely all over the place, you're not failing, you're just meditating. So, yeah. Anybody else want to say anything about that? Yeah, Art?
Yeah, I had someone tell me once that meditation is kind of like it's an exercise for your brain. So I play a lot of baseball, and I'm all right. But you know, I'll go on a hot streak and I'm hitting the ball good, and then I'll go on a cold streak and I'm 0 for 20.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still doing everything right, but I'm just not hitting the ball or hitting the ball where I'm supposed to. So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I do meditation for myself.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. It's going to go how it's going to go. Yeah. And the young man in the back?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off what Ms. Vicky and the ladies and the gentlemen, the ladies in the back were saying, was for me, I continue to meditate because I was very, very impulsive. I was very angry. It just makes me it keeps me grounded and stay mindful of how far I've came and why that all leads.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, good. And you'll notice too, like especially when you're beginning this practice and you're sitting there and you're just like, oh my God, this is so boring. When is she going to hit the bell? I just want to get out of here. And just notice that about yourself. You know, are you that way in other parts of your life? Probably are. Okay, so we can get a lot of insight from our meditation. It's not recommended to start analyzing yourself while you're meditating. You can press the pause button on that and get back to it later. But like Vicki said, you're going to notice the more you meditate, you'll notice some changes in yourself. You know, you've probably heard it around here, it'll change your life, and it will. So, all right, anyone else have another share before we do a brief meditation, a little bit less? Did anybody have any, I think I might have told you, how long was that last meditation we did? 20 minutes, yeah. Did it feel like, how long did it feel like to you? Because it was your first one. An hour and 20 minutes?
Longer than 20.
Longer than 20, okay. Because, you know, and sometimes you'll just be so present and you're just breathing and hearing sounds and all of a sudden the bell rings, you're like, what? That was not even 5 minutes. So it's going to vary, and that's life. You can't predict it. We have no control over it. We can't predict it. We'll just be in it. So let's be in it, all right? All right, let's be in it again. Ready? Get your wiggles out, scratch your nose or whatever's itching. All right. Great. anything they'd like to share about how this meditation was compared to the first one? Not better or worse, but how different? Yes.
To me, it was like actually harder this time.
Harder. Okay.
Maybe I've been trying to focus on the breathing and I got
Yeah.
more restless.
And sometimes the second meditation is harder because you're like, whatever reason, you're ready to go, you want it to be over, whatever. Sometimes it's easier. For me, a lot of times the second one is easier because I've already got a rhythm going and I go deeper the second one. Yeah. Anybody else have a different experience for the first one or the second one? I'm sure you all noticed the second one was shorter. Yay, right? Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Let's go ahead and join palms for transfer of merit. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all beings be free. May all beings be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to Kevin Harvey as he moves forward in his healing. May all beings be free from suffering. And before everybody heads out, our host in the back, Vicki, has some announcements.
Hello, everyone. I'm Vicki, and I'm tonight's host. We opened the Dharma Bum Temple 17 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above this shoe rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and then bring it back whenever you're finished with it. Please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out. And we hope to see you all again. Thanks for being here.
All right, thank you everybody for sharing your practice.
Thank you.